Hey movie junkies, welcome back to Twin Flicks, where we always hear celebrating the magic of movies, but most importantly, physical media with you. Now, I've been a long time Stuart Gordon fan ever since I was a teenager. I remember being up late at night and our local Fox channel, which was Channel 49 in the Portland, Vancouver, Washington area. And back then, they were trying to be the cutting edge network. They were trying to be like the next HBO for network TV, where after midnight, they would show uncensored movies. It didn't last very long when the censors finally caught on to what they were doing. But during that time, it was just a playground of great horror films that I don't think I would have seen otherwise, especially at the age of 13 or 14. From movies like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, The Terminator. And then came more gruesome horror movies later at night, like Hellraiser or Dead Alive, which at 14 years of age just blew our minds. Then we had Stuart Gordon with Reanimator, and today's film, From Beyond. All these films we saw at such a young age, at 13 or 14, clearly had its impact on Simon and I as filmmakers as we became adults, and still to this day holds a special place in our filmmaker brain, and we use techniques that they used back then in some of our short films. Now, regrettably, I missed out on the Shout Factory Blu-ray release back in 2013, which I heard was a great-looking 2K scan transfer. But I did manage to convince a friend of mine to let me borrow his copy to compare and take screenshots between Vinegar Syndrome's 4K UHD release. And talking about Vinegar Syndrome, they did release this month with a new 4K restoration from the original 35mm negative with HDR10+. No Dolby Vision this time, and has also been reframed to its intended 1:8:5:1 ratio when previously it was at 1:7:8. And yes, this is the full director's cut. So let's dive in and take a look at all the improvements and benefits between this new 4K UHD and Shout Factory's previous 2013 Blu-ray. And if you're interested, stay tuned after the review for a rundown of all the special features. There are some new ones, and a closer look at the artwork. Vinegar Syndrome has another winning cult classic on their hands with the 4K UHD that is obviously a big step up from the now dated 2013 Blu-ray. And with all the improvements, we the fans finally have this film the way it was meant to be seen and as close as possible to its theatrical presentation. Color reproduction is absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous. The HDR10+ opens up the color gamut much wider, allowing primary colors to look much more faithful and truer to life than I've ever seen it before. The HDR grading works its magic, giving the image much improved colors. Deeper cherry or crimson reds, natural blues, richer yellows, and lusher greens. The scenes with the resonator is bathed in purple-pink tones, especially during the monster sequences. It's an achievement with this color reproduction that just ignites the screen. Also impressive is the purple flickering lighting from the resonator. A big reference point is with the black levels here. They're incredibly impressive, with those deep inky blacks that we all love, velvety shadows and shading that reveals more information even in the darkest spaces of the image. Contrast to that, the Blu-ray suffered from both crush and somewhat grayish black tones. Now we have stable, solid blacks that, again, looks fantastic. Whites are also much crisper and bright white instead of that more almost cream white color on the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray also suffered from some blooming and hot areas. This 4K cleans that all up. There's zero blooming issues or hot spots. And what makes this a stellar UHD restoration is that Vinegar Syndrome also went in and fixed that frame, title, and transition juddering that was a big issue throughout the Blu-ray. Now all the images, optical transitions, and titles are rock solid with no issues to be found. Another go-to reference point is the razor-sharp image that never looks artificially sharpened. The entire image is just impeccable with incredible clarity and depth throughout, giving some very nice dimensionality and depth that was never there before on any home media release. Detail clarity is off the charts with incredible amount of details, texturals and finer details. The resonator machine has a very nice shine to it, and you can see all the different buttons and lights on the machine. All the lab equipment in the foreground and background are very active. Close-ups of faces reveals skin imperfections. Barbara Crampton's makeup, skin textures look more natural and lifelike. But really, it comes down to Dr. Edward as the creature that is the clear winner here. The amount of detail and texture is profound. We can now see all the slime and creature makeup, and the basement creature looks impressive, down to seeing all the multiple razor teeth. It just looks fantastic. My jaw literally hit the floor with how good this looks. On both creatures, all of the fleshy bits get their day in the sun. The gore effects look much more lifelike, no matter what the scene is, that the Blu-ray just can never achieve. Now, because of the higher resolution, all the creature, puppet, and optical effects, it definitely shows its age here. This was also a lower budget movie, so they didn't have a lot of money to spend on great special effects. But this is something to be expected, and while some especially the superimposed heat signature scenes where you see POV of what the creature sees, that does stand out like a sore thumb. It's definitely not a deal breaker and makes all the practical in-camera effects, honestly, I think even more impressive with what they were able to achieve with such a low budget. Film grain is fully intact here without any part of the image looking muddy, unlike the Blu-ray suffered from. We now have a very beautiful filmic appearance. And finally, we have the cherry on top of this UHD release, and that is the constant mbps. The bitrate ranges from 85 to 97, sometimes even peaking up to 105 or 109, making this a top-shelf A+ 4K UHD title. And I give huge props to Vinegar Syndrome for giving this little indie horror film its proper due and a proper release for us fans that we've been waiting for. Now, as for the audio, unfortunately, they didn't spring for a new Atmos mix, which honestly I think is a big missed opportunity to not utilize all the surround effects and the power and potential that the sound mix had. But what we do have is the same DTS HD lossless 5.1 track and the stereo track from the 2013 Shout Factory release, which isn't bad and definitely gets the job done. The 5.1 track is definitely the track to stick with that breathes life back into the film. The humming of the resonator and the creature sound effects is given plenty of attention with a lot of energy and surround activity that's dynamic, along with the film's bombastic score that swells all around the listening area. The bass is also active with some great LFE moments and deep rumble. Dialogue is crisp and clear, without the dialogue suffering from sound effects or music drowning out the dialogue. Alright, so my score for Vinegar Syndrome's 4K UHD release of From Beyond, I'm giving the video a resounding 5 out of 5 and the audio a 4 out of 5. Ditch that dated 2013 Shout Factory release and pick this up. You're not going to regret it. It is definitely a huge step up and an absolute beauty of a UHD title. But now I want you to do me a big favor, because I'm really curious on your opinion here. When you look at the differences here between the two formats, the Blu-ray and the 4K, which do you think looks better? Let me know over in the comments section. Alright, well, if you stuck around this long, then you deserve a reward, and that is taking a closer look at the artwork here. So let's zoom in here. So yeah, I love the newly commissioned artwork there. It just completely evokes the whole tone of the film. And this is a hard O-ring the Vinegar Syndrome has released with it. And it is a reversible sleeve. So you have the newly commissioned artwork on the front, and then you have the original artwork on the back. And it also includes 3 discs. You have the 4K UHD feature presentation, and then you also have a Blu-ray presentation of the film with the remastered video, and then you have a 3rd dedicated Blu-ray disc with the special features. Well, as always, thanks so much for spending a few minutes here and talking about and comparing From Beyond. And as always, keep physical media alive, and I'll see you next time.